Okay, so I have been meaning to read Jane Austen for the longest time. So far I have only read Pride and Prejudice and I absolutely loved it. I think I read it last year and I thought it was very romantic and at the same time very funny, very witty, with biting criticism that was done in the most subtle way possible. I think I might reread the book and do a review here on the channel one of these days. But anyway, I decided that now it was time for me to properly go into Jane Austen, because I have always been told that even though her books might seem like variations on the same plot from afar, once you go into them, you will discover that each book is a distinct literary work on its own, with its own feeling, its own colors, and its own style. I thought if I'm going to properly get into Jane Austen, I'm going to start with the beginning. I'm going to start with her first novel, and this one is Northanger Abbey, which, even though it was published in 1818, after her death, it is believed that this is her first novel. She was working on this back in 1802 or 1803. Even before she started writing Sense and Sensibility. And I thought this way it would be interesting to see Jane Austen progressing through her literary career. And I have to admit right up front, I think Jane Austen is a genius. I mean, this is her first novel. Granted, she had written some juvenilia, some short stories before, but this is her first effort at writing a full-length novel. And this early on, it is very clear that she knew what she was doing and she knew where she wanted to go with her literary works. This book is simply wonderful. The writing style is amazing, the subtle humor is amazing, and even though it may not be one of her most celebrated books, I think it really deserves more attention because it's a damn good book. What stands out most in this book is that it's a comedy. It's very funny. It pokes fun at the characters, pokes fun at the social conventions of the time, the literary conventions of the time, specifically the Gothic novel, and basically everything else. And it does it in such a light-hearted way that it is very pleasant to read. All the characters are lovable. Even the very annoying ones are handled by the narrator in ways that makes reading them very interesting and not off-putting, if that makes sense. This month I have been going through some stuff, both being extremely busy at work and on the personal level as well. And whenever I picked this book up, I felt myself immediately drawn into the characters and the world of the novel and what was going on, and I always left it feeling a bit better about myself. And this is one of the best experiences you can have with a book, when you just pick it up and you forget everything and just get completely absorbed into it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the book. Even though the title is Northanger Abbey, the abbey itself, the place, or what it refers to, we don't know anything about it until very late in the novel, late in the second half of the book. The book is divided into two sections, and even though the first section is definitely setting up and leading to the second one, it does feel like these are two different sections. The first one is set in Bath, and this section in Bath is all about single ladies preoccupied with going on romantic adventures and exploring social life. And the trope of the heroine who goes on adventure to meet the world at large, create friendships, and fall in love with the man of her dreams is pretty much played out and made fun of here in this section. As Austen says in the very beginning, her book is about a heroine, Catherine, who needs an adventure or a story, and she, Jane Austen, as an author, is going to give her one. And you do feel that in this section, you feel that this is a story that is being given by an author to a character. You do feel that it's a story that is making fun of all the other novels in this convention. Then we come to the second section, which is going to take place in the Abbey. And this section is a very funny satire of Gothic novels. Obviously, nothing Gothic or extraordinary is going to take place in this sober and grounded story. But Catherine, who has read too many Gothic novels and perhaps little else, is seeking and is almost determined to find and go on Gothic adventures at every turn. She looks for Gothic elements everywhere. She even interprets the most mundane incidents that she goes through or notices in a way that just gives way to her wild, heady imagination that is just seeking secrets and hidden passageways and murders and ancient chests that will be hiding secrets and treasures and things like that. And of course, every time she is humbled and brought back to reality by a hilarious turn of event that disappoints her and lets her know that nothing extraordinary is happening here. And all of this is done very much like a proper joke. Jane Austen is surprisingly good at setting up a Gothic-like suspenseful scene that would only lead to the the punchline of the joke, the discovery that there is nothing extraordinary going on here. I will not go into any more details here because I don't want to ruin it. I want to leave it for your enjoyment while you're reading the novel if you have not read it yet. Now let me say a few things about the main character in this book, Catherine. Catherine is a very ordinary person. There is nothing remarkable about her. She comes from an unremarkable family, she has an unremarkable position, unremarkable wealth. Even her beauty is very unremarkable. She's not very beautiful, but at the same time she's not like distinctly ugly. She is just ordinary in like the most common sense of this word. What stands out most about her is that she is a very naive, innocent girl. She is also very good-hearted, very unpretending, very simple, and she believes the world to be the same. She also has this black and white view of the world, like people are either these perfect angels with no faults, or they are murderous and evil and very black. And whenever she sees some kind of imperfections in her friends, she doesn't accept that they might be imperfect. She says like maybe they spring from pure motives, or maybe they can be attributed to something that she does not understand herself. And the slightest imperfections in people that she does not consider to be her friends always like give flight to her imagination to construe them in the most horrid images possible. Now, of course, throughout the story, she matures a little bit, she becomes a bit wiser and a bit more discerning. And just like she was going through a series of disappointments with the Gothic experiences that she thought she was going through, there were a parallel line of a series of letdowns that are more related to things like friendship and love and more real-life situations that in the end would leave her a bit more wiser and a bit more better disposed to judge people's characters and motives. As I said in the beginning, all the other characters in this novel are all very interesting. There is Isabella Thorpe, Catherine's a friend while she's staying in Bath, and she is just like the most vain, superficial, chattery person you could ever meet. She is very, very annoying, but at the same time, as I said, it was done in a very the way it was handled by the narrator made it annoying in a very lovable way, not in a very off-putting way. And there is her brother John, a very loud, boisterous and even rude person who is almost as annoying as his sister. Then there is Henry, the charming, quick-witted, good-hearted gentleman, and his speeches were like among the most amusing things in this book. There is his sister Eleanor, who becomes Catherine's best friend while she's staying in the Abbey, and she is just like the opposite of what Isabella is. Eleanor is very good-hearted, very quiet, very gentle, very honest, very straightforward. Eleanor is Henry's sister, and there is their father, General Tilney, who is too commanding, too authoritative, and even too scary for Catherine. And I just like loved the scenes where he was present, because the way the narrator handled those scenes, describing what was going through the mind of Catherine and how she was interpreting his actions and the way that he behaved himself around her, all of this was very amusing and pleasant to read. Now, to conclude, if you haven't read this book yet, don't expect something like romance or a powerful love story or a bond of friendship that would never break, because even though these elements are present in the book one way or another, mostly this is a satire. This is a book that is poking fun at social conventions and at its characters, mostly at Catherine, who has read too much Gothic literature. It is a coming-of-age story about the sobering experiences of an innocent and naive girl, and it is a funny book. As always, let me know what you think of this novel in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of thing, consider subscribing to my channel. I will be uploading a few more videos about Jane Austen in the upcoming few weeks. And finally, if you have been watching so far, thank you. Cheers.